Oi, oi, how's it going? It is finally time after fucking yonks of saying I wanted to do a Last of Us review. I am finally doing it. So without further ado, I am here to review The Last of Us. I played The Last of Us, both Last of Us games twice, and that includes the Left Behind DLC. So I don't want to waste any more time, let's just jump right. I remember when I saw The Last of Us trailer for the first time at E3, and I was intrigued by the get-go. Post-apocalyptic city with unique zombie types that play like Uncharted. It seemed like a recipe for success. And before you knew it, it was time for release. At the time I had an Xbox 360, so for the time I couldn't play it, unfortunately. So instead I watched mediocre gamers on YouTube play it. But when I got a PS4, I grabbed a copy of The Last of Us and experienced The Last of Us experience. What the fuck was that? The Last of Us starts with our protagonist coming home in a frantic panic because he can't lose this job. He then tells his daughter to scoot and asks her why she's still up, even though the first shot was her asleep until he woke her up. Father of the Year. He's then rewarded by his ignorance and receives a watch from Sarah. This is his daughter, by the way, Sarah. And she says it's for his birthday and that he keeps complaining about his broken watch.
I think it's stuck. It's not...
What? No. Oh, ha.
She then reveals that she sells hardcore drugs, and the protagonist shakes it off like it's nothing. Once again, Father of the Year. This watch will later become an important motif throughout the story. The protagonist takes his daughter to bed, showing the father-daughter dynamic, and foreshadowing that she will die because she's not on the cover.
Or maybe it's the same girl.
No, Felix. No, it's not. Sarah then wakes up to notice that no one's home, and something feels off. She calls out for Dad. A weird name for a protagonist, but okay. But to no avail. Sarah makes her way into the study after a failed jump scare. Like, seriously, what the fuck scared you? And reunites with Dad. Dad is covered in blood and says that the Coopers are sick, acknowledging that they have never seen a zombie film before and don't know how this works. Jimmy Cooper, this is Jimmy Cooper, by the way, the neighbour, then runs into a glass door, providing an actual jump scare, and Dad reluctantly shoots Jimmy. Rest in peace, Jimmy Cooper. Tommy then shows up, Dad's brother. Then we find out Dad's name isn't Dad, it's actually Joel. This would come of no surprise if you watched any of the promotional material or read the back of the cover. And the three of them try to escape Jackson, the town, not a person called Jackson. They have to take an alternate route because of traffic, am I right? And find themselves in a pickle. They are thrown out of their car after a devastating car crash that manages to hurt absolutely no one, except for Sarah, but it's okay, because she's gonna die soon. We then have our first glimpse of being Joel, who picks Sarah up and tries to carry her to safety. The three get trapped in a bar with infected right behind them. Tommy stays behind and barricades the door, and tells Joel to get Sarah out of the bar because she's underage. Joel completely understands and ushers her out the back door. Joel and Sarah are chased by even more infected before being saved by a nice, strong military man before he changes his mind and shoots Joel and Sarah. Surprisingly, Joel is still alive and the soldier wants to make up for his poor shooting skills. Joel is then shot dead. The end. No, Joel doesn't get shot. The soldier does, by Tommy. Tommy then points out that Sarah's bleeding out, which makes Joel regret using her as a human shield. Sarah then dies in her father's arms. Personally, I think this is a very powerful and strong introduction to the game, setting up the harsh realism of survival, which gets even more harsh as the series continues. Sarah being one of the first casualties of the game just sets up a dark tone and makes the character development of Joel empathetic and understandable as the game progresses. And with a narrative-driven game like this, you kind of have to have these traits for an engaging character. And I think Naughty Dog did a great job of introducing Joel. After receiving some backstory on what has happened in the last 20 years, we are then greeted by Joel looking a lot more rugged, like every man after they lose a child. Insert heavy rain.
Ethan!
Even after 20 years, the watch is still in mint condition. Kinda.
I'll give you $150.
As we introduce partner in crime, Tess, who got jumped by these two assholes. And all of a sudden, we're chasing Robert. Who is Robert, you may ask? I have no fucking clue. At this point, the game does a really bad job of trying to push the game forward smoothly after jumping 20 fucking years. The audience have no clue who Robert is and why he betrayed Tess until we get our hands on him 20 minutes later. If the plan was to get Robert, you could have at least put some audio bites in the intro to give us some backstory on who Robert is. The audience was kind of like, what? Okay. Anyway, we get our first look at the quarantine zone, or QZ for short. Here you get some information on the two different factions. Fedra, who are like the military who oversees QZs and kind of enforces law to keep everyone at bay. And there are also the Fireflies, who act as a militia to rival Fedra. They fight for freedom, and they're also looking for a vaccine to the infection. You catch a glimpse of this rivalry when the entrance of a QZ is attacked by Fireflies, stopping you in your tracks. You then take an underground tunnel which provides access to all parts of the city. This also introduces you to spores, a toxin in the air that infects you through the lungs. And later you are introduced to infected themselves and how to combat them. You'll also learn about what life is like through the casual reactions of Joel and Tess when coming into contact with infected and people in peril.
Friendly AC-130 in the air.
They seem numb to all the dangers that come their way, which I think is a nice touch. As you go through to fetch Robert, you get to take in the beautiful scenery which still holds up today, even though the game isn't really that old. Actually, now I think about it, it's almost 10 years old, more than 10 years. Holy fucking shit. With the city covered in green and the buildings destroyed and covered in rust. Fast forward to finding Robert, who looks like the biggest sex pest by the way, who gets cornered by Tess and Joel, who proceed to break his arms because he won't tell us where the guns are. But I thought we were chasing him because he attacked Tess. Well, I guess not. Robert says he sold our guns to the Fireflies and then suggests that we go kill them and take the guns back. Tess doesn't like that idea. We are then introduced to Marlene, the leader of the Fireflies, who just so happens to come out of nowhere, and she's been shot or some shit. Conveniently, she says you can have the guns back if you smuggle something out of the city. I wonder what that could be. We then take her wounded ass back to her safe house, where we meet Ellie for the first time. Playing this game again made me realise that the structure of the story within the first 30 minutes was massively sloppy. Kinda like they knew how they wanted to approach the prologue, and then shit their pants for the next 30 minutes. However, I'm still engaged and thankfully it only went up from there. Joel and Ellie get along like most people when they meet for the first time. You know, Ellie pulled a knife on him and stuff. We find out that they have to smuggle her out of the city.
We're smuggling her?
Oh boy.
Joel nor Ellie like this idea. We are then presented with some backstory on Tommy, who served with the Fireflies, and was close with Marlene. He then decided to walk away from the group and go solo. We are then given the task to escort Ellie to a safe house outside the QZ. Tess goes with Marlene back to one of the Firefly camps to fix her up, as well as look at the payment that Tess and Joel will receive for smuggling Ellie. The relationship between Joel and Ellie starts off real predictable. Ellie being friendly and open to an extent, and Joel who does not give a fuck about Ellie in the slightest. This is put on full display while on the way to the safe house.
To be honest with you, I give two shits what you're up to.
You reach the safe house by nightfall and wait for Tess. Joel goes for a snooze knowing he'll have a nightmare, which is a common occurrence in Joel's character in subtly outlining the motif of the game's self-proclaimed misery porn nature, showing subtle form of self-torture. Ellie also points out that Joel's watch is broken, highlighting the watch motif. As the gang makes their way out of the city, they get pulled over by the cops, and the gamer boy or girl learns that Ellie is infected. Not gonna lie, Tess is way too easily convinced.
What if it's true?
I can't.
What if, Joel?
Like, wouldn't you feel a bit uneasy that this infected looking girl has a bite on her arm? Me, personally, I would have just shot her right off the bat before she even got a word out. Anyway, they take the risk and continue with their job. They move through the city and come into contact with clickers, a unique type of infected that sees through sound. I really like the design of the clickers alongside the frantic seizure-like movement, which makes them harder to kill. And when it comes to stealth, they can only be killed by shivs or Ellie's pocket knife. Some time passes and we get closer to the Firefly stronghold. They see the Colosseum in sight from the rooftops, and Joel asks Ellie.
So is that everything you hoped for?
And she responds with,
Jury's still out. But man, can't deny that view.
which really hits Joel in the feels because Ellie starts to remind him of Sarah and is snapped out of it when Tess tells Joel not to get attached.
Look, we're almost done. Stay focused.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a slight problem with the fast forwarding right outside the Colosseum because there wasn't an established jump until this part. Like, we should have at least teleported a couple blocks away for looting purposes. Anyway, what a shocker. They arrive and all the Fireflies are dead. You see the sense of urgency in Tess, and Ellie realizes this, seeing it before. Tess says she's not going anywhere and that this is her last stop. Ellie then breaks the news to Joel, who somehow isn't getting it yet, that Tess is infected.
She's infected.
Joel,
Let me see it.
I didn't mean for this.
Show it to me.
This scene is incredibly powerful, showing the connection that Tess and Joel had, exemplified through Joel insisting that he'll stay and fight with Tess, other than escape with Ellie.
Come on. Make this easy for me.
I can find it.
No, just go! Just fucking go.
Tess pushes Joel away and tells him to leave, while she takes her last stand.
You said he had a gun. Motherfucker, you screamed he had a gun. That wasn't me. Someone, it must have been fucking James said it. I didn't say it.
Joel and Ellie fight out of the Colosseum and get into the subway, which is polluted by spores. Joel asks Ellie how she's still alive, and Ellie responds with,
I wasn't lying to you.
which solidifies Ellie's immunity. When they escape the subway, Joel shuts off from Ellie completely and gives her a list of rules to follow, which creates a huge disconnection between the two.
What you say goes.
Joel concludes with mentioning a friend that owes him some favors, and they head off to look for this friend. As you enter the abandoned town, Joel gives some backstory on his friend Bill. He says to Ellie that he should do the talking, and that Bill isn't the most stable of individuals. I like the surroundings of the town, and the transition between rooftops to the streets was very smooth looking. The somewhat open environments provides a lot of looting possibilities, all the while coming into contact with infected. As you make your way to Bill, you discover that he's rigged the town with traps, and that he also uses infected as a scare tactic and a line of defense of sorts. From a gameplay standpoint, these events provide you with new weapons and bombs to add to your arsenal and creates a very alive atmosphere to a dead town. It's pretty smooth sailing until, oopsie daisy, you step on a trap and shoot infected upside down. You finally get help from Bill, who in no way, shape or form should run faster than you because he's fat as fuck. You rush to his safe house, avoiding a plethora of infected. He greets the two by handcuffing Ellie and drawing a gun on Joel. A bit fucking rude, but, you know, I'm no social expert, so whatever.
Get on your knees!
Ellie then greets him back by hitting him with a lead pipe. Bill seems pretty pissed that you came to see him, but Joel insists that he should shut the fuck up and get him a car. We find out that the only way to get a car is to gather a few parts, more specifically a battery, that can be found in a bus that crashed into a high school. But first, Bill insists that if they want any chance of surviving, they need to stop by Bill's hideout and stock up on weapons and ammo. On the way there, the dialogue of Bill is really insightful and interesting. We learn that Joel and Tess were inseparable, making the death of Tess that much more tragic.
So, you didn't answer my question about Tess. I thought the two of you were inseparable.
She's busy.
Joel remains reserved and doesn't tell Bill that she died on the way over because he's reluctant on talking to Bill about his loss. We also learn that Bill has gone months, if not years, without human interaction, shown through Bill referring to himself in third person, and his notes scattered around the city giving himself reminders of what to do and when items and enemies are around the area. You move past Infected and make it to the hideout. Ellie rushes to load up herself when presented with weapons. However, Joel refuses to give Ellie a gun because he doesn't trust her. Hashtag #MeToo movement. Fucking sexist. As Bill and Joel load up, Bill keeps bringing up Tess and Joel starts to get irritated by Bill's persistence and just wants to get the battery.
Can we please just get on with it?
Here. Let's get on with it.
Mere meters away from the bus, Joel and the gang need to get through a group of zombies out the front. No matter how you approach this section, you cannot do it quietly. You will always trigger combat. This is because it's set up to be a cutscene that follows, where the three make it into the high school, closely tailed by Infected to give the scene a sense of urgency. Bill cranks the hood open to find that there's no battery.
Fucking empty!
The three freak the fuck out and try to get out of the school in a hurry. The thing I don't like about this part is that the gameplay contradicts the cutscene by Joel barricading the door, so instead of moving with urgency, you can take your time stealthing around the Infected until you make it to the gymnasium. Once they find an exit, Joel encounters a bloater for the first time, which tend to be sensitive to fire, which can lead to greater damage when shooting them. I learned that very fast because I like to keep my ammo. Shit continues to hit the fan when the three try to evade a swarm of Infected. They end up climbing a conveniently placed ladder, jumping a fence into a quiet house. As Bill shouts at Joel about the risk they took for no reward, he brings up Tess again, which sets off Joel, who retaliates in anger, all the while a guy hangs from the ceiling fan. This lovely chap turns out to be Frank.
Who the hell's Frank?
Bill's friend who left because he grew tired of Bill's bitching. Fair enough, he's pretty fucking weird.
He's the only idiot that would wear a shirt like that.
However, Frank, the fruity shirt fuck, got his hands on the battery and put it in a truck he was planning on using before he got bitten. Before the group head off, Joel confronts Ellie and states that she's doing a good job.
You're doing a good job. I figured you should know that.
This shows Joel slowly opening up to Ellie and that the bond between the two is getting stronger. And it's all done through minimal dialogue so it doesn't come off as corny. Ellie tries to get the truck started while Joel and Bill push. While you try to push start the car, you have to fight off waves of Infected until Ellie can get the truck running. As soon as Ellie fires that bitch up, she Ricky Bobbies it out of there, avoiding all the Infected.
You ain't first, you're last.
When they get clear of Infected, Bill hops out, not prepared to give up what he built in his town, leaving Joel and Ellie so they can go their separate ways. And from there, Joel and Ellie continue their adventure. Joel and Ellie hit the road and Ellie steals a bunch of shit from Bill. She comes across a nudie mag and starts some great banter.
How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
I don't know, Ellie. I don't know. Ellie falls asleep to some sweet tunes. As Joel does a $120 down the freeway, he suddenly comes to a halt to see a road blocked off. Because nothing goes smoothly in this game, Joel reluctantly goes through the city streets, trying to be as quiet as possible. Joel rips that e-brake and sees a man in peril. He appears to be hurt, which Ellie points out, but Joel sees through his bullshit and steps on the gas. The guy regrets his current life choices and calls his boys to fire at the car, but ends up looking like Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker. As the pair speed through bullets, the truck gets rammed by an armoured bus and crashes into a convenience store. Joel realises that the two need to get moving because their lives depend on it. However, the savages are on their A game and rip Joel and Ellie out of the car to kill them, which at first appears really extreme due to the unknowing of their motive. You end up killing them all and grabbing your shit to bounce. As you progress, you head to higher ground due to the decreased chance of conflict and you'll be harder to detect. You make your way into a hotel building which spawns enemies to try to stop you. You find out that the enemies are now aware that you're close. During this confrontation, I noticed that Ellie was probably the most involved in combat thus far. She distracts closing in enemies by throwing bricks and bottles, and she also calls out enemies that are out of your line of sight. As you clear out the hotel, the only way to progress is through the elevator shaft that you could use to boost Ellie up to get to the next floor. You boost her up with no problem, but the elevator Joel's standing on gives way and falls straight down, Luckily, the bottom of the building was built up with water, breaking Joel's fall. You navigate out of the water and into the dark. You can hear infected nearby, but not close enough to notice your presence. You come across a generator to help you navigate easier. Out of nowhere, a small group of clickers swarm your position due to the noise of the generator. Joel fights his way out and finds a way out of the spores. He makes his way back to Ellie, coming across a ladder to the next floor. As he reaches the top, he eats a dirty boot from one of the savages and tries to drown Joel. Joel tries to reach for his gun, which is only fingertips away, but he can't grab it, until another hand reaches into the water, grabs the gun, and shoots. We see Ellie lower the gun in shock of what she's done.
I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?
She says she feels sick, conveying that this is the first life she's taken. Instead of Joel being thankful, he scolds Ellie for not listening to him when he told her to stay put, showing how reluctant he is to showing his gratitude to Ellie. Ellie doesn't take any more of Joel's shit and decides to stand up to him, which Joel completely ignores and says that they should keep moving.
We gotta get going.
Lead the way.
As they make their way out of the building, Joel spots a patrol scouting the streets. Joel grabs a rifle that's propped up in the scaffolding and tells Ellie the plan, saying he wants Ellie to stay put as he goes down there and takes out as many as he can. Ellie argues that he should trust her because they have a better chance if she has a gun. Joel snaps back and saying he's giving her a chance and hands over the rifle.
If I get into trouble down there, you make every shot count. Yeah.
I got this.
Although this arc was inevitable, I think this is done really well, having Ellie snap at Joel and Joel realizing that he can't do it alone. Joel hops down from the scaffolding, and in my opinion, this part of the game is really where the AI shines, with enemies being aware of not only Joel's presence, but also Ellie, which makes them wary of the cover they use. And Ellie can also be quite useful when the enemy leaves cover. She also can provide suppressive fire, so it's easier to move around without being shot. When all the enemies are cleared out, Ellie is given a handgun by Joel, showing that he's beginning to trust her more, and changing the relationship between the two, being quite distant to starting a slight friendship. As you sneak through the city, you come across two stragglers being gunned down by the armoured vehicle. You then learn the motives of this group inside the city. The men get out of the vehicle and check the bodies. They say the couple have torn clothes, an old pair of shoes. They got nothing. Which further shows that these people are an established group who settle for the finer things, and this is further shown through enemy dialogue when encountered. As the two continue to navigate the city and avoid the armoured vehicle, after numerous calls, the pair decide to take to high ground. As you scale building to building, you run into a threat that tries to jump you. Joel struggles to get the upper hand, and that's until the enemy looks over at Ellie, realising that Joel isn't one of the savages. Joel grabs the man and starts to ground and pound his ass. Ellie yells at Joel to stop and raises her hands. We find that a kid is pointing a gun straight at Joel, threatening to shoot him if he doesn't let his brother go. Everyone starts to chill and realizes that they're all friendly, because the savages don't let kids around. And we find the brothers are called Henry and Sam. Henry says that it's not safe and they should talk at their safe house. Four catch their breath before making their way to the location. After a few combat sections and watching Sam play with dolls, what a loser. What is that, Optimus Prime?
I'm going to turn into a truck now. Birch church a church, a ding ding church.
You make way to the safe house, where we learn that Henry and Sam are two survivors from a camp that got split up, and we're told that any survivors are meant to meet up at some abandoned radio tower, and from there, find a Firefly camp. Joel laughs at the irony of Henry's story, which triggers Henry. Joel tells him to calm down, and that Ellie and himself are also looking for the Fireflies.
We're looking for the Fireflies too.
Henry takes a moment and tells his plan to escape the city, ending with him saying it goes down tonight, and all four rest up and wait for the opportunity. Joel is woken up by Ellie and says it's time. and we get to leave the city, and in my opinion this is one of the harder combat sections in the game. Henry says to Joel in the cutscene before that when it gets dark, it's down to a skeleton crew, which is simply just bullshit because these motherfuckers just keep coming. There's a few spots where you simply can just cheese when killing these dudes, like the starting position or behind the ladder which is under the enemy spawn point, but if you're doing it properly it can be a challenge, especially if you get caught. Once you get past this section you try to get over the gate, and you do it in a hurry because that fucking tank car machine gun thing that has pursued you all over the city up until this point. You all climb up the truck, but as Joel waits his turn, the ladder breaks, and the tank car machine thing breaks through. And in heroic effort, Henry jumps down to help Joel. No, he doesn't. He says deuces and bitches out.
We're leaving.
What? What's this bullshit?
Hey, now!
What the fuck, Henry?
And leaves Joel and Ellie for dead. Joel and Ellie open a nearby garage door, and the gunner of the military truck must be visually impaired because holy shit, he shoots like a fucking stormtrooper.
You really do shoot like a stormtrooper. Guess I don't have too much to worry about.
So you try to find an alternate route out of the city and make it to a bridge. What do you know, Mr. Military Truck Car Man thing? And his sidekick, Ray Charles, manning the gun. This forces you to run into a dead end. And oh, I forgot to mention, Ellie can't swim, so Joel proposes that they stand their ground and fight the armored truck. Good thinking, Joel. Anyway, Ellie uses her brain and jumps despite Joel saying no. Joel follows and tries to keep Ellie afloat. Yeah, it doesn't end up too pleasantly. No, Joel and Ellie are saved by Henry and Sam. Look at Henry, man, laughing it off like it's nothing. Joel hip and shoulders Henry, understandably so, and because he saved Ellie, he's hesitant to pull the trigger. And also, perhaps he probably would have to look after Sam if he killed him, or he could have killed Sam, either or. Henry maintains a positive attitude even though he was mere seconds from dying, but whatever. And the four make their way through the sewers. I'd like to point out this section of the game had the most interesting collectibles, with notes following a man named Ish, and how he's been living in the sewers all by himself while the world above goes to shit. He then comes across a small group that have children, and he offers the group to stay with him, which also creates some backstory on why the sewers are filled with colourful drawings on the wall and toys on the ground. Anyway, the sewers become overrun with infected, and Ish gets out of the sewers while one of the adults and all of the kids get cornered in a room with infected outside. You can find this room with a goodbye note, and a blanket covering the kids' bodies and writings on the wall above saying they didn't suffer. Obviously implicating that the adult shot the kids and killed herself instead of letting the infected get them. Lore-wise, this is probably the deepest collection of collectibles in the game. Everyone says that Marlene's audio tapes are really grim and insightful, but they don't hit as hard as Ish's story. Anyways, the four of you make your way through the sewers and uncover what happened. You are then split up from Ellie and Henry, and you're stuck with... Sam. This little bitch is the dumbest fuck in the whole game. The next combat area is meant to be done through stealth, and the environment is really quiet and intense, with faint sounds of clickers and water droplets. So when Sam yells out, "Look over there," or "Look out," it scares the absolute shit out of me. Not to mention he runs around like a fucking maniac, which puts me on edge. Because at first glance, he looks like a runner, and it scares the shit out of me every time. Like, look around you little turd, your reckless actions are gonna get us killed. After the stealth section, thank God we are reunited with Ellie and have to run from the infected out of the sewers. The exit is blocked and Ellie and Sam are the only ones small enough to fit through the small gap in the door. As they try to get the door open, you and Henry have to fight off a small wave of enemies until they get the door open. In all honesty, when I first saw this section on YouTube, every YouTuber made it out to be hard as hell. But in my opinion, I think this was one of the easiest combat sections in the game, due to the excessive amounts of ammo the infected drop. When you make it out, there are markings on the building that say, "Do not enter, dead inside."
Thanks for the warning on the other side, guys.
Comedy. From here we run into what seems to be the same hunters, and we have to house hop staying out of line of fire until we make it to the end of the street. When you make it to the house, it is crawling with enemies, and you have to take them out however you please, whether you want to draw them out of the house or go in guns blazing. I love this combat section because it's a lot harder and you have to use your brain a bit more because you have a pair of eyes on you at all times. And if you're out in the open, this sniper will pick you off. So you have to try and break up the group and pick them off one at a time. However, as soon as you take out the sniper, comes the section that I probably hate the most in the game, where you have to defend Ellie, Henry and Sam from waves of bandits and infected from getting to them. And if that's not enough, the military truck from the city is also there, with a guy throwing Molotovs out the top of the truck. You have to shoot the guy throwing the Molotov, which causes the truck to crash. It's not that I found this section difficult because it wasn't that hard, but the lack of movement and freedom to kill in a game that has wide open spaces to flank your enemies, I don't know, I just wasn't a fan. The four of you escape and get to safety. From there you get a moment of relief, where Joel and Henry share a laugh. Ellie yells, "So long, gay boys!" and then checks on Sam in the other room, where he's counting cans. Little dumbass. Ellie and Sam have a deep conversation about death, where Sam notices how cavalier Ellie is about everything, asking,
"How is it that you're never scared?"
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone.
which not a lot of players took into perspective, forgetting that the leading lady is immune, therefore is not as worried or scared about being bitten because she's already been there once before. And that's why Sam asks her the question. And not just for a funny, "Oh, Ellie" moment. Scorpions are creepy. Ellie then opens up about her biggest fear, ending up alone, which ends up foreshadowing the end of part 2, but we'll get to that much later in a different video. Sam does his best Matt Pat impersonation and starts having a game theory.
What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body?
Thanks for watching.
Ellie tries to reassure Sam, but it's too late. She gives him his Optimus Prime and walks off. Sam throws it on the ground because dolls are for babies. Oh, and he's infected as well. We then cut to morning to the smell of whatever the fuck that is. And Henry tells Ellie to go wake up Sam. Ellie walks in to see Sam twitching before a scream follows. Sam! What the hell? Zombie Sam is trying to smooch. And Joel, the southern boy, does his best American police officer impression and tries to shoot a defenseless black kid. Did I ruin the scene for you? That was too far, what the fuck. Henry in tears reluctantly shoots his brother and has a full-on mental breakdown. Understandable. Before capping himself because all he's been fighting for is Sam and now he's gone. In my opinion, I thought this was the worst section of the game. I'm not saying it's bad, but it really does drag, and it jumps from place to place quite a bit. I wasn't really invested in Henry or Sam. I kind of saw them as disposable characters because I knew exactly that they were going to die at the end of this section. I think the section would have been a whole lot better if it just stuck to Ellie and Joel, further building that relationship between the two. Or a narrative route that it could have taken was Ellie and Joel being separated from Henry and Sam back when they're in the city. It could have set up like a nasty antagonist that we would never see again, making our blood boil because we know that Henry got away scot-free. This would also build up the world, amplifying how hard it would be to trust someone in a situation like this, when people are willing to stoop so low to ensure their own survival like Henry did with Joel. I just think one of these narrative directions could have been a whole lot better than what we actually got. But once again, we move on. We jump to Foal, walking through a beautiful forest to find our dear old brosif, Tommy. We run across a hydroelectric power plant, and it takes the river's movement and turns it into electricity. And how does it do that, I hear you say?
Look, I know what it is, I don't know how it does it.
We then cut off the current to make a bridge to continue our journey, and we get presented with one of the best quick time events. I say that because if you even move remotely past Ellie, the prompt will go away. So taking my opportunity, I line up my high five and slap that shit so hard you would think Joel was a contestant on Power Slap.
Smack Smith, bitch!
On our way there, we stumble across a grave, which gets Ellie to talk about the events that unfolded in the last chapter, with Ellie saying she should have left that stupid toy on Sam's grave.
I forgot to leave that stupid robot on his grave.
Which, number one, the toy is not stupid. It is a transformer that you pick up from the market. You know, like they have this weird variety pack that'll have like Optimus Prime, Goku, Batman, and Daredevil, because they all definitely cross paths at one point. And number two, I actually don't have a number two, just don't call the toy stupid. We continue our journey until we have guns pointed at our face. Joel stands his ground and says, "You're a woman, make me a sandwich." No, he actually surrenders quite willingly.
You're a simp! You're a simp!
And both Joel and Ellie are about to be told to hit the road until...
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him. He's my goddamn brother.
Hey, brother.
We finally reunite with Thomas as we embrace in a loving but not incestual hug. Probably should have mentioned while we were navigating the forest, Joel told Ellie both he and Tommy had a falling out in their last meeting.
I believe his last words to me were, "I don't ever want to see your goddamn face again."
But he's gonna help us?
I suppose we're gonna find out.
So when Tommy goes in for the hug, Joel seems surprised and relieved that their last words didn't ring true. Tommy and Tommy's wife Maria invite them into what seems to be their new home, using the power plant for the camp's electricity, the area being well secured with gunmen manning the entrance, and the power plant being in a secluded area to reduce the risk of attacks. Tommy mentions that they've only been there for a few months, but is looking to be a suitable option when it comes to staying. After we pet some horses and decline a photo of Joel with Sarah at a soccer game, we head to Tommy's office and talk. Joel explains to Tommy how Ellie is immune, which Tommy obviously doesn't buy, but the look on Joel's face says he's not fucking around, and that this girl could be the cure. Joel ditches his obligation to see out the job and says Tommy and his people can collect the whole payment. Tommy declines, saying he's quite happy to help Joel out, but he won't take Ellie off his hands.
But I ain't taking that girl off your hands.
This infuriates Joel, and the two get ready to square up until conveniently their power plant gets raided. After our shooty pow with these raiders, Tommy confronts and agrees to deliver Ellie to the Fireflies. Tommy, being the beta that he is, consults with Maria, which leads to an argument. Ellie hears the future domestic violence dispute and asks if the argument is about her.
Does that have anything to do with me?
Talk about it later.
Joel brushes her off and she's surprisingly cool about...
That girl of yours, she took one of our horses and rode off.
Okay, never mind. We take in some beautiful scenery, and it's kind of weird that someone would leave barbed wire. We fight through a bunch of bandits, and I would like to raise the question, how the fuck did Ellie make it through these guys? Because horse tracks lead through here, so she couldn't have gone around, and this area has been barricaded off, like it's some sort of camp, so these bandits couldn't have just conveniently stumbled across Joel and Tommy and been like, "Oh, okay, let's get him." We pull up to the house which has the horse that Ellie stole, just chilling there. We then are presented with one of the most powerful scenes in the game.
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area.
Oh, fuck that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
you are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
Now you can chalk this up to Ellie being a brat and Joel being cold, but if you dig a little deeper, this was the breaking point. Joel unintentionally got too attached to Ellie because she reminded him of Sarah, and outside forces like Tess and Bill told him to stay focused. This girl is cargo and cargo only, leading him to be heartless towards Ellie because if he cares, he'll lose sight of the original goal. This harsh attitude is put on display when he says that her decision was pretty goddamn stupid. He then backpedals when Ellie wants him to admit that he wanted her gone, and Joel simply can't because he knows if he admitted it, he'd be lying to Ellie and himself. The Joel snap, when they talk about close calls, is not done through anger but through fear. Fear that he'll have to go through the same heartbreak and loss that he did with Sarah. And he can't bear that because why would you guarantee on an uncertainty to keep her safe when you can leave her with Tommy, who has more men and more weapons, and if something were to happen to her in Tommy's care, Joel wouldn't be there to witness it. This moment is Joel's last attempt to separate his feelings from his obligations, with the final attempt to put his foot down saying, "We are going our separate ways." Once again we're ambushed, but there's only a handful of them, so we clear the room out pretty quick, and get ready to head back to the power plant. On the way back, Joel did some serious soul searching, and has a change of heart. Joel tells Ellie to give back the horse, and get ready to continue their adventure. Joel asks where the nearest Firefly base is located, and Tommy points him to the University of Colorado. And with a final adios to Tommy, our journey pushes forward.
Adios, little brother.
Our travels far and wide, we finally make it to Colorado on horseback, and the mental fortitude of this fucking horse is immaculate. Gold Star horse.
What kind of name is Callus anyways?
You're right, Joel. We shall call it Dave. We ride around on Dave until we reach the university, and have to find our way inside. At this point the game wants us to chill and take in not only the atmosphere, but also reflect on our journey thus far, exemplified through the way Ellie and Joel talk to each other. Joel reveals that he wanted to be a singer as a child, in response to Ellie saying she wanted to be an astronaut. The conversation is such a drastic change of pace from the reluctance that the two had at the beginning of the game, in contrast to now where they're opening up and having little heartfelt conversations, showing the trust and friendship that they found in one another. We navigate through the university in hopes of finding a Firefly, but no luck, only a few infected, clickers and bloaters. The sense of uncertainty and worry starts to kick in as we further progress through the university and find absolutely no one. We come across a corpse that recorded his last moments. He concludes his recording with,
Looking for the others. They've all returned to St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City. You'll find them there, still trying to save the world.
So our journey continues, and poor fucking Dave has to now take us to Salt Lake City to the next Firefly triage. But hey, that light looks pretty. We are now presented with the art of backtracking as we make our way back out of the university and back to Dave. Not gonna lie, I felt like a fucking one-man army taking on these losers. Like I felt invincible. Oh, before we take a little nap, we have to show how badass we are. Ellie tries her best to motivate and move Joel closer to the entrance, but Joel is finally too tired of putting the team on his back, almost to the point where Ellie has to be useful. I was joking, don't get mad that I'm making fun of your favorite NPC companion.
Cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch.
I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
But she completely drops the ball here. Give her a rifle and she's like a cracked 12-year-old playing Call of Duty. But give her a cutscene and she becomes a fucking stormtrooper. She deserved that.
I guess we're both disappointed.
We make it to Dave and hit the road, and Joel ends up falling asleep at the wheel.
Joel! Shit. Joel! Here. Oh, get up, get up, get up. You gotta tell me what to do. Come on. You gotta get up. Joel!
That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's winter and Joel is nowhere to be seen. Most people on their first playthrough had a small thought in the back of their brain wondering whether Joel is dead or not. He's not, but could you imagine?
Joel?
I now present the hardest part in the game. Hunting this fucking deer. I don't know why, this took me ages. I either crawled too quickly or stepped on a fucking stick or something. It was such a chore. After some slick shooting, the deer comes to an untimely end at an old broken down steel mill. As Ellie goes to show us her ungodly strength by trying to move the deer, she is stopped by Gary Oldman and James, who looks like he has a cold. Hopefully it's not COVID. Obviously, these two don't look trustful from the get-go. However, this game tries to lure the player into a false sense of security by having David, sorry, I lied, it's not Gary Oldman, be completely cooperative, getting Ellie medicine for Joel. And this is pushed even further when infected close in on the steel mill, and you and David have to fight your way out of danger. With David doing what he can to help keep you alive, saving your life actually multiple times. As you're cornered into a small room, you're forced to go Rambo with all the ammunition you have left. And as wave after wave fall, silence.
Now infected.
Ellie and her new best friend head back to the deer and sit by the fire once more. David then tells a brief story about a crazy man that slaughtered men that were in David's camp. And the crazy man was traveling
A little girl.
Ellie raises her gun and gets ready to catch a case, but David remains composed, knowing that Ellie won't pull the trigger simply because James has his sights set on her. He has a gun, is what I'm trying to convey. David stays cool, calm and collected and tells James to give Ellie the medicine and let her go. He concludes their encounter with an olive branch, saying he can protect her, but obviously Ellie declines because that's fucking creepy.
No thanks.
Ellie runs back to Dave and they hightail it out of there. Although sudden, I do think the inclusion of having a temporary antagonist like David was a great inclusion. It shifts the focus in approach gameplay wise by having Ellie's enemies being human, making them faster, more aware and less predictable. Because I personally always thought the survivors were more challenging than the infected. Anyway, we can put our MatPat theory caps away because we are shown Ellie returning to Joel. And he seems to be okay, kind of. Ellie lifts up his shirt and Joel's wound looks like a sewn up vagina. But nothing a Hello Kitty band-aid won't fix. There, all better. We then tuck Joel in and caress his shoulder. Ellie wakes to the sound of rattling and voices coming from outside. She takes a peek to find out it's a group of men with guns. Putting two and two together, that must be David's men. Ellie grabs her gear and hops on Dave to lure the men away from Joel, but oh no.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Shh, sweet prince, take a nap. So now that shit's escalated, Dave and Ellie gotta go a quarter mile at a time and unleash some literal horsepower.
Shoot the fucking horse!
No, not Dave, you fucking bastards. Rip my dog. We just so happen to conveniently make our way into a flock of these fuckers. And then we get a sneaky surprise hug from David. Wait, David? I think you're choking her, David. As Ellie, we teleport to a magical land we've never seen before. Maybe we do have super pet. Oh, okay. Never mind.
How are you feeling?
Super.
David goes full on registered sex offender.
You're special.
Chris Hansen, come out now. I think this is going a bit too far.
You are a fast mover. Please have a seat right there.
We then cut to Joel waking up and notices that Ellie isn't around. Joel then finds some of David's men playing around in the backyard. Joel is able to hug a few men into submission, and I think this is one of the best cutscenes in the game because it exemplifies what Joel has been preaching the whole game.
Guess what? We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess!
How did you know
Know what?
about the ambush?
I've been on both sides.
The savagery that Joel shows is such a drastic change from what we've seen from Joel throughout the game. It's like a switch as soon as Joel finds out that Ellie is in danger. Joel has no problem turning into a stone-cold killer. And although Joel's actions are extreme, they are completely justified because someone who he cares deeply for is missing, and the only forms of information are from two men who don't want to talk.
No, wait!
Speaking of Ellie in danger, she's about to get chopped up into tiny pieces thanks to David and his butt buddy. Ellie screams in desperation, buying time yelling that she's infected.
I'm infected! I'm infected!
and uses her bite to scare the two men. And because Ellie bit David, she explains that now David's infected too, through Ellie chomping into the hand of David. Ellie manages to scare one of the two men, that being Pussy Boy James, and for his lack of bravery, he pays with his life. David pulls out the blicky and the chase is on. The game gives the players double perspective of Ellie's current situation mixed with Joel being one step behind, following Ellie's trail. And throughout the rest of the chapter we do switch back and forth. As Ellie we take shelter from the snow in a little restaurant, but what a coinky dink. Hey stranger, fancy meeting you here. We are now playing some hide and seek with our new buddy, as he tries to gut us with his machete. What a time to be alive. We cut back to Joel and take out the men who are patrolling the outside area of the now on fire restaurant. Cut back to Ellie, David tries to hug our neck with his hands, and in return, we give him back his machete. You can see the distress that Ellie is in. She has a tunnel vision of David's lifeless corpse, so much so that she doesn't even realize that Joel has entered the restaurant and trying to calm Ellie down, because she is so focused on making sure David is dead. She swings and swings, telling Joel not to fucking touch her, until Joel drags her head away from David and her eyes are on Joel. This is such a powerful scene and it really establishes the father-daughter dynamic that they've been building up. And in this moment, this is the closest the two will ever be, with Joel calling her baby girl, just like he did with Sarah. To conclude the chapter, Joel holds Ellie close and the two leave. The dynamic duo continue their adventure, but something feels a little off. See, throughout this chapter, you're not presented with many enemies, to slow the pacing down and reflect on the journey that Joel, Ellie, and the player have gone through. This chapter really ties up some loose ends, with Joel coming to grips with his past and learning how to live in peace after the death of Sarah, something he could have never done if it wasn't for Ellie. Speaking of, Ellie is incredibly reserved after what unfolded in the winter.
Ellie, I'm talking to you.
Huh? Oh. Yeah, sure, that sounds great.
Her innocence is gone. She's shut herself off. Like the roles of Ellie and Joel have been reversed, with Joel being the positive and optimistic one. In this chapter, gameplay also takes a backseat to focus on the narrative and the damage that our protagonists have gone through. As we make our way through the city, we come across some sort of town hall, train station, strip club, and the only way to progress is to grab the ladder and get to higher ground. Something we've done many times before. We get in the position to give Ellie a boost, but we wait a little longer. Usually she just spawns into position. However, this time Joel lifts his head to find Ellie sitting on a bench, completely zoned out. Joel calls out to snap Ellie out of it. As Ellie lowers the ladder nice and slow. Damn bitch, what the fuck? We then follow her to see what she was looking at when she almost killed me. Wow, giraffes. What the fuck are they doing here? How have they not been chased down by infected to become like zombie giraffes? We stroke its big ass head and watch as a group or a flock or a cluster or whatever the fuck of giraffes leave. As we get ready to do the same, Joel stops and gets Ellie to reconsider, having second thoughts on why they're doing this, when they could be back at Tommy's living relatively normal lives, while Ellie is determined to see this thing to the bitter end. And with that being said, the two continue. The chapter mainly involves exploring and searching for items, while Joel and Ellie have awkward small talk, which just feels off. The only moment between the two that really felt organic was when Ellie gives Joel a photo of him and Sarah, the photo that she took from Tommy's, concluding with Joel accepting the loss of his daughter in a nice moment shared between the two.
Well, no matter how hard you try, I guess you can't escape your past. Thank you.
And then, right back to the awkwardness. The pair come across an underpass, which has infected inside. And I don't know if it's because the game thought we needed a break from a challenge, or if Joel is a fucking rig and enabled God mode, but this wave of enemies were insanely easy. And at first glance, this should be a challenge, with 2 bloaters and a handful of clickers and runners, but I wiped out these dorks in a couple minutes. As soon as we We continue our journey through the underpass. The deeper we go, the more water starts to fill up the underpass, and if you paid any attention to the last 5+ hours of the game, you'd know that Ellie can't swim.
You can teach me how to swim.
The pair try to stick to higher ground and avoid the water and cross through the debris that floats above the current. The pair cross a bus that conveniently caves in, and the two struggle to stay afloat until the end of the wicked water slide. And Ellie passes out from too much excitement. Joel drags her to safety and does CPR, and conveniently, two nice strong military men show up to save... Joel awakes without a fucking scratch on him after being put to sleep by the butt of a rifle and is greeted by Marlene, who seemed to get here pretty easily. I think Ellie would have been a lot safer if she just went with you, but you know, what the fuck do I know? Joel asks about Ellie and Marlene assures Joel that she's fine and is being prepped for surgery. The more Marlene explains the surgery, the more Joel begins to reconsider. The cordyceps in her brain have some sort of mutated growth that's making her immune to the infection. If this growth was to be extracted, they can create a vaccine, but extracting the mutated growth will make Ellie susceptible to infection and would have to be killed. Joel tells Marlene to find someone else and goes to get Ellie, but is stopped in his tracks by fireflies. Marlene tries to empathize with Joel, saying it's painful, but it's only a fraction of what she's been through. Marlene says she was close with Ellie's mother and promised her that she would look after Ellie if anything were to happen, making this choice so much harder. Or in Marlene's case, there's no other choice.
There is no other choice here.
Joel replies with a snarky remark.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that bullshit.
Bitch gets women. And then we are escorted out of the building. Joel starts to buffer and struggle with simple instructions. Oh shit! We fill this full with lead before we grab our stuff and set out to find Ellie. We are given the last weapon of the game, the assault rifle. And to be honest, it sucks dick. At this point in the game, your rifle and your pistols should have armor piercing, making it easier to kill not only heavily armored enemies, but also regular enemies. So spraying an M16 doesn't feel as impactful as your upgraded weapons you've gotten to master throughout the game. The enemies make like Dean Lewis and come and go in waves. We make our way to the operating wing, where we open the door to find Ellie getting prepped for death. We one-tap the surgeons without a second thought, and grab Ellie and run. As Joel sprints through the hallways with Ellie in his arms, all of the sound starts to drown out, and all we can hear clearly is Joel's voice. The yelling, the gunshots all seem to fade into the background as we get closer and closer to the elevator. A dramatic moment for sure, but why did the fireflies turn into fucking stormtroopers? Like literally, no one hit me as I was running through a narrow corridor. How in the blue blazing fuck did you guys last this long in the apocalypse? We head to the car park and steal a car. I just want to say Joel's strength is immaculate. He's been carrying Ellie for a solid 5 to 10 minutes while sprinting around a building and now having a casual conversation while holding her. Strength 100. Marlene tries convincing Joel to hand Ellie back over, saying Joel can still do the right thing. We cut to Joel driving in silence, and Ellie is in the backseat because obviously why would Joel give her up? Even though he is completely in the wrong by stealing the cure for humanity for selfish reasons. On the ride back to Tommy's, Joel straight up lies to Ellie, saying there are dozens of people like her that are immune, and because of this, they've stopped trying to find a cure, making their journey meaningless. Ellie is distraught, going through hell believing that she has the ability to cure the world, all to be told that she's not special at all, and all the pain, all the suffering throughout this course is meaningless. So yeah, he ends up shooting Marlene. What a racist, am I right? And finishes her off with a swift bullet to the face. The two make their way to the power plant and it feels empty, like the relationship of Joel and Ellie has suddenly vanished. Ellie stops Joel and opens up to him, sharing the story of how she got bitten in the first place and how she's waiting for her luck to run out. This kills Joel inside, telling her she needs to find something to fight for, while he clenches his broken watch. Ellie interrupts.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
that's The Last of Us. As far as a game having the full package, I think this is Naughty Dog's magnum opus, with engaging, lovable characters, thrilling gameplay, and storytelling from start to finish, a beautiful world filled with dangers and giraffes. This game was built for success and has earned its place when talking about some of the greatest video games of all time. The gameplay was as smooth as butter and the combat never gets old, with the enemy AI being in most cases smart, and a selection of weapons at your disposals to bash, shoot, blow up and fry anyone who causes harm to you or Ellie. Speaking of Ellie, although not perfect, Ellie's AI is incredibly useful at points in the game, pointing out nearby enemies and distracting them if they get too close, giving you a warning that you're about to go loud, accompanied with a throw of a brick or a bottle, stunning the enemy for a short time. The reason I chose the PS4 remaster as opposed to the PS5 remaster was because the PS5 one was not really the game that I fell in love with, although the PS5 version further enhances the gameplay using the Part 2 engine and gameplay mechanics, but it just felt a bit wrong to me because it looks too different from the game that I remembered. But I'm sure whoever played that version probably said the gameplay in that remaster is a whole lot better. The journey that Ellie and Joel partake is an emotional one, showing the dysfunction between the pair, which turns into a bond, realizing the only people that they can trust in this world is each other. Well, until the ending. The game has a somewhat dark tone, which later turns into the game's forefront MO. You know, the whole misery porn nature of the second game. But unlike the game's sequel, this game provides the quality of hope for the game's characters and players alike. Hope that the two characters we've had along this journey will somewhat live normal lives. Well, as normal as they can in a zombie apocalypse, portraying a very melancholic tone. But I think it would have been interesting to see if Joel never intervened in the ending moments of the game, and the Fireflies did end up operating on Ellie, but because this is such a dark game at heart, what if the operation was meaningless and nothing was to come from it? And instead of the sequel being focused on Ellie, it would still be focused on Joel and how he came to cope with the loss of Ellie, and also coping with the whole purpose of the first game being meaningless because it led to absolutely nothing. So not only does Joel have to live with losing his daughter in the beginning of the outbreak, but he also loses his second chance, Ellie. Now I feel like that game would have been a whole lot more depressing if that was part 2 instead of what we actually got. I also want to touch on the Left Behind DLC because I don't think it was warranted its own video, but I do think the DLC did a very good job of trying to expand Ellie's character in such a short period of time, telling the tale of the relationship of her and Riley, who was mentioned in the conclusion of the game, and sort of shaping the personality of Ellie that we know in the base game. I would have loved to seen these sorts of DLCs incorporated into different characters, like Tommy exploring his time before the founding of his little camp. You can tell the story of him and the Fireflies, or you can talk about the departure with him and Joel, or even show how he formed the camp in the first place that we see in the base game. I also thought this could greatly benefit the stories of Henry and Sam because I felt like their story in the base game was a lot to be desired, and it could have been expanded upon with a DLC with the story of them when they were stuck in the city, or how they even got to the city in the first place. I think it could have given them more depth and make the end of their individual stories more sad and impactful. But that concludes one of my favorite video games of all time, maybe even my favorite. And it also concludes this video. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. And if you want me to do another longer formed video like this, let me know what game or movie or whatever the fuck I should do. So yeah, sorry for the wait, but that's pretty much it, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.